Tonight, the moon will rise full and white above your city. You will probably glance at it through a window, maybe take a photo, then go back to whatever you were doing. It will not occur to you to be afraid, but somewhere deep inside your nervous system, something very old is paying close attention. Why does the full moon feel different? Not just look different, feel different. There is something in you that responds to it in a way you cannot quite name. A kind of alertness, a strange pull, something that sits right at the edge of instinct. And the real answer to why that happens is far stranger than any myth you have ever heard about it. Your ancestors did not write poems about the full moon because it was beautiful. They feared it, not in the abstract way we fear the dark today, the way you double-check a locked door at night. They feared it the way prey fears a predator, with every sense sharpened, with the body fully awake. And when you understand why, you will never look at the moon the same way again. For most of human history, night was the most dangerous place you could be. Darkness was not a backdrop. It was an active threat. The predators that hunted your ancestors were not the ones that chased them in daylight. They were the ones that came after sunset. Lions, leopards, hyenas, animals with vision systems finely tuned for low light, built to run faster than any human, built to kill in the dark. And for roughly 200,000 years, your ancestors went to sleep every night, knowing that something was out there. Darkness was your ally in that world. It hid you. A cloudy, moonless night meant you were invisible. You could sleep pressed against the ground in tall grass, and the leopard would pass 10 feet away and never know you were there. Darkness was safety. But the full moon destroyed that safety completely. On a full moon night, the savannah lit up like a stage. Every movement was visible. Every silhouette was sharp. You could see 50 meters in every direction, which meant everything else could see you too. Your cover was gone. The darkness that protected you had been stripped away. And the predators knew it. Anthropologist Charles Nunn at Duke University has spent years studying the relationship between predation pressure and primate sleep behavior. His research shows that primates living in high predation environments sleep in shorter bursts, sleep higher off the ground, and alter their sleep patterns during high visibility nights. The full moon, in other words, is not just a light source. It is a signal, and the primate brain learned to read it. Here is what is remarkable. Research published in Current Biology by Christian Kayokin and his team at the University of Basel monitored participants sleeping in a controlled laboratory environment with no windows, no clocks, no way of knowing what phase the moon was in. The participants had no idea the experiment was tracking lunar cycles. And yet on full moon nights, they took 5 minutes longer to fall asleep. Their deep sleep was reduced by 30%, and their melatonin levels dropped significantly. The moon was not visible. There was no light, and still something in their body knew. Think about what that means. Your brain is not simply responding to moonlight when you see it. There's a rhythm built into your biology that tracks the lunar cycle independently. A clock beneath your consciousness, running silently, keeping time, the same way it has for hundreds of thousands of years. This is what scientists call a circulunar rhythm. Just as you have a circadian rhythm that tracks the 24-hour day, there is growing evidence that humans and many other animals carry a second rhythm tuned to the 29.5-day lunar cycle. Researcher Horst Werner Korff at Goethe University in Frankfurt has identified biological mechanisms in marine animals that appear to operate on this lunar clock. And researchers now believe the same architecture exists in human tissue. Your body is, quite literally, still watching the moon. But there is something else, something the predator story only half explains. Because the full moon did not just mean danger from outside. It meant danger from inside your group too. Here is a piece of history that most people never learn. Intertribal violence among early humans was not random. It spiked at predictable times, and the full moon was one of them. When rival groups raided, they used moonlight. Of course they did. It was the only reliable artificial lighting available for the vast majority of human prehistory. A coordinated attack at midnight under a full moon gave raiders a tactical advantage that a new moon could not. Your ancestors on both sides of those raids knew this. They knew that the bright nights were when strangers came, when screams might rise from the camp on the other side of the ridge. The full moon was not just a predator's tool. It was a weapon, and your nervous system still carries the echo of that. There is a reason words like lunatic and lunacy share a root with the word lunar. Ancient Romans, ancient Greeks, cultures across the world, independently connected the full moon to a kind of heightened dangerous, destabilized state. Not because people in the ancient world were superstitious and wrong, but because they were paying attention. Because they noticed that on full moon nights, something shifted in the village, in themselves. Psychiatrist Thomas Ware at the National Institute of Mental Health spent decades studying the relationship between light cycles, mood disorders, and circadian disruption. His work suggests that in individuals already prone to mood instability, the full moon's suppression of melatonin can act as a biological trigger, compressing the sleep cycle in ways that accelerate episodes of mania or agitation. The myth of the full moon making people act strangely is not entirely myth. It is ancient pattern recognition pointing at a real biological mechanism. Here is what your brain has been doing with all of this for your entire life without telling you. Every full moon night, something in your sleep architecture shifts slightly. You spend a little less time in the deepest stage of sleep. You stay a little more alert, a little more ready to wake at a sound. This is not a malfunction. This is an extremely well-calibrated survival response that kept your ancestors alive long enough to pass their genes to you. Your brain does not know that you live inside a building. It does not know that the predators are gone. It just knows that the moon is full, and that on the nights the moon is full, you need to be ready. And now consider something stranger still. The moon is not even doing this to you consciously. You do not lie awake thinking about lunar cycles. You do not choose to sleep lighter on a full moon night. The response runs entirely below your awareness, in the same ancient circuits that regulate your heartbeat and your breathing. This is not a thought. It is a reflex so old it predates language itself. It predates the first stone tool. It is written into you at a level deeper than memory. The myths your ancestors built around the full moon were not ignorance dressed up as mystery. They were something more sophisticated. They were an attempt to put a story around a real, felt experience that had no other explanation. The wolf that transforms, the madness that rises, the god who watches from above with cold, white eyes. Every culture arrived at these images independently because every culture was feeling the same thing. The pull, the unease, the subtle electricity in the body that would not quite let them rest. They just did not have the language of melatonin and circadian rhythms. So they built the language they had. You have a better language now. You can look at the data from Kyochin's lab, at Nunn's primate studies, at the careful work researchers have done tracing biological clocks across species. You can understand the mechanism. But understanding the mechanism does not make the feeling go away. And it was never supposed to. That feeling is the message. That slight alertness on a bright moon night is your body doing exactly what it was built to do. Watching, listening, staying just awake enough. Tonight, when the full moon rises, you will probably glance at it and feel something you cannot name. You know what it is now. It is 200,000 years of survival, running quietly in the background, doing its job. Not because the danger is real, but because the body that kept your ancestors alive does not know that yet. And honestly, some part of you, the part that feels that pull toward the cold white light in the sky, does not want it to.